Hey Rose, how are you?
Good, how are you, Jodie?
I'm good, so good. This is all a bit new for us, isn't it?
It's very new. Why don't you tell everyone a bit about yourself?
Well, actually, maybe before that, let's just say, hey, welcome to our podcast.
Oh, that'd be a good idea.
Thank you for clicking in and listening. We hope that you stay and we hope that you come back again. But let's now talk about who we are. So my name is Jodie Park. I've been a social worker for about 25 years. And I've worked mainly in the field of child and family social work. And I work in, I don't know, do we want to say where we're located? What do we do about that, Rose?
Well, I think we probably should, because it gives a bit of context to those listeners outside of Australia and New South Wales.
There. Okay. So we're located in New South Wales. We're located on the south coast of New South Wales. And Rose and I are both private practitioners. We do lots of different things and we are co-located. So we share pretty much everything, really.
We do, actually.
Yeah.
So what Jodie didn't mention is she's actually a doctor of social work. So it's Dr. Jodie Park.
That's true. I didn't mention it.
It's very important.
I mean, it is kind of a lot of work and I'm really proud of it.
And you should be, because when Jodie was doing her doctorate, she was working full-time, raising 4 children, and, you know, it is very impressive.
Wow. Thank you, Rose. It does feel like a long time ago now. It's a good few years ago now, but thank you for that.
Feels like yesterday.
All right, I'm kind of embarrassed. Let's go to Rose. Let's go to you. Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Rose Mackey. I'm a social worker also. I've only been an accredited social worker for the past 2 and a bit years. I have worked in welfare and social work field, I guess, for 20 plus years. Makes us sound very old.
It does.
But went and did my qualifying masters a couple of years ago, because I had always identified as a social worker, but I wasn't one.
And how many, honestly, I have to say it's just once. How long did I tell you to do it?
Oh, I think probably a year after we met, and we met a very long time ago.
That's so true. I was hustling you for so long about it.
You were.
I'm so proud that you did it.
Actually, on one podcast, we need to talk about that very first time we met in that police station at 2 a.m.
Is that when we met?
Yeah.
I thought we first met at Children's Court.
Oh, I don't have a memory of that. I remember the police station. Anyway, it's a hilarious story, and we might share it one day so you understand maybe a bit further the perspectives that we came from at that point in time, and maybe still do.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's share that story. I don't know if I can remember that story, but you'll remember.
Oh, I can.
It'll trigger my memory. Yeah. I'll be just as excited to hear about it. Okay, sorry.
That's all right. That's all about me. So what are we doing here, Jodie? How did this come about?
Oh, we've been talking about this for a long time, Rose, haven't we?
We actually have.
A long time. And Rose and I talk a lot about a lot of different things, and we don't always follow through. So I'm pretty proud that we did.
That's also true.
Yeah, that's also very true.
I think because we're co-located, we have a lot of informal conversations, and sometimes I'm like, oh, why wasn't that recorded? And yeah, sometimes we're hilarious and sometimes we're absolutely not hilarious in this office.
That's true.
But we've done it. We're here. It's pretty amazing.
And why did we want to do this? Because it's kind of like, it's a little scary, isn't it, really, to record a podcast?
Very scary. It's also scary to think about what people listening might think about our practice, or the topics we talk about, or how we show up, I guess, as social workers.
Yeah.
That's a bit scary too.
Yeah, because we're probably a little different to a lot of social workers. And that's how this podcast came about, really. It's because I know I've always felt like I think about things so very, very different to a lot of the colleagues that I've worked with in different teams. But I've always thought the same way as Rose. Like, always.
Yet the way we practice is quite different at times too.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But I think the diversity of our practice as like together, us two, is interesting in that I've just, recently in the last couple of years finished my Master's of Social Work. And even in the academic space, I think that it highlighted that we do think quite differently. And sometimes, a lot of times, I didn't actually feel safe to speak up and be like, hang on, here's my kind of thinking around that, or
not with me,
not with you, but in the university space, in meetings with colleagues, in the social work field that we intersect and traverse.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you just think, well, I do, just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
And I think this podcast, one of the big reasons we wanted to do that was to give a voice, because we're making an assumption there are other practitioners like us out there.
Yeah.
And also to kind of challenge and be challenged in the work we do, because that's how we grow as practitioners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. And we just want something that's real. We just want something that's about real practice, not about, and I already don't want to offend anyone, but I'm just going to say it, not about people that think they know about practice, not about people that maybe have taught for the last 10 years, maybe loosely practiced for 2 before they taught, or maybe taught for the last 20 years, and then decide that they know everything about practice. So they're going to start a podcast or write an academic paper, or tell people who actually practice on the ground, people who actually do the hard stuff day in, day out, how to do their job when they don't actually know how to do it.
Yes.
And, I was kind of like, I went through a stage of trying to find really good social work podcasts, because I'm like, I'm in private practice now. I really need to be making sure that I'm looking after my own development. And it was really hard, because most of them just pissed me off, because they were just these like really nice, knowledgeable, obviously skillful people talking about practice, but not talking about real practice. Talking about practice in a way that's really nice if your client is predictable and consistent.
Okay.
And always listens to what you want to say.
Yep.
And doesn't actually want to be challenged.
I'm just curious, in the last 25 plus years, how many clients have you had like that, Jodie?
Not a lot. Not a lot. And we both come from the child protection space. That's where we come from. I know we tried to say that really nicely when we began, but now we're kind of getting a bit real, aren't we? But we both come from the child protection space, and that's not predictable, and that's not consistent. And that's really hard work. And I think what would have really been helpful for me when I was a social worker working in the child protection space was to be able to listen to something where the people who were talking actually knew what that was like, and actually talked about practice that I was experiencing at the time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we tried to write a paper a few years ago, and it was meant to be a paper from a practitioner's perspective.
Yeah.
And what happened when we submitted it?
It just got wrecked. I mean, it was because I guess people who know me know that I have experience in academia. I was a senior lecturer for a period of time, and it just really wasn't a good fit for me. And that's because of the way I think, and because of the way that I feel about practice. And I think practice is a feeling as much as anything else. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that academia absolutely has its place. We have to be able to teach people things. And I know some amazing academics, and as we move through this podcast, I'll have to mention their names because I have to, because they're amazing people. But I also know some academics that, quite honestly, I would not want teaching anybody.
And I think the name of the podcast is obviously relational practice. And I think the driving force behind that name is that Jodie and I have always talked for the last 20 years about relationships and how we practice. And I guess try to always practice in the relational sphere. And so throughout the podcasts, we'll unpack, I guess, relational practice, but also how that's actually done.
Yeah.
With our clients, for our clients, and with other social workers that we work alongside. because relational practice really is, I would say, the underpinning framework of all that we do.
Yeah, I'm just going to do one really quick sideline because, that's so interesting because what used to make me so angry when we worked in child protection was people who would say, yes, but you work with non-voluntary clients and they have to work with you. And I used to honestly get so mad about that because you still need to know how to form a relationship and you actually need relational skills because unless you're going to go in and remove that person's child, they actually don't have to work with you.
No.
No one has to work with you. And even if you remove their child, they don't have to work with you. But you want them to work with you because that's actually how change happens. This kind of collaborative, collegial relationship that you form with somebody else. So truly, I felt like punching people in the face when they said that. And I'm really glad that I did it because that would have made me very too.
But you are correct. If you can't build rapport and don't have a genuine interest in your client as a human being and the systems in which they live every day, then I don't know what practice you're doing.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
So, Jodie, why should people listen to us?
I guess, I guess people should listen to us if they want to. I think you said it so well at the beginning. If they want to challenge their own practice, if they want to be able to think about practice from a very different, or perhaps not from a different space, from a space that feels comfortable for them.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a space that is not often talked about. And I guess that's part of why we wanted to do this podcast and why it's so important to us to do this podcast, because we just want to be real and we just want to be genuine and we just want it to be messy sometimes because practice is actually messy.
And we're messy.
Yeah, it's true. That is actually true.
And sometimes we're funny.
I think we're funny a lot of the time and hopefully you think we're funny as well. But, we'll soon see because I'm sure hopefully you'll let us know.
I'm sure we'll be told.
Yeah.
So when we were planning for this, we, in all seriousness, thought about who shouldn't listen to this podcast because it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So we actually thought about who we think our audience isn't, and that is people that are easily offended. The buzzwords. Sometimes you'll sit in meetings with colleagues who speak so articulately, so I can't even say the word, articulately.
Whereas sorry, but you know what I'm going to say. What was it we heard the other day? That was the most, I honestly laughed so hard.
Oh, we did, and I wrote it down because I keep saying it was about a parachute, wasn't it?
Was it about positionality?
Oh, positionality and a hammock piece, wasn't it? That real hammock piece.
Honestly, how ridiculous.
So I Googled what's a hammock piece in social work and there is no answer.
No, because it's a made-up term. Happens a lot in social work, particularly in child and family, because that's really my experience. People just make shit up. People go, that's amazing.
What did I say the other day? I was saying contemporary practice. And Jodie was like, what are you speaking about? It's like, remaining contemporary in your practice.
Yeah. So just learning stuff.
Yeah. Learning, basically. Those values and the ethics that we hold as Australian social workers, if, we're both part of the AASW, those things we agree that we'll continue to learn.
And reflect.
And challenge ourselves.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, those buzzwords, if you're very good at speaking the speak.
Yeah.
You might not hear a lot of buzzwords in these podcasts.
Yeah, chances are.
Also think, if you're sitting there thinking my practice is on point all the time and I'm amazing at my job every day, probably won't get much from this podcast then.
Do you know, I don't know how good if some of the students I used to teach listen to this, but if they do, they will hopefully this will be familiar, this little story. But I used to tell them, particularly the introduction to social work students, that if anyone tells you that they have nothing to learn, then honestly look at them sadly and move away, because
it's very good advice.
Because it's just, they're obviously having a moment because it's not real. It's not true.
Yeah, so true. And I think back to when I first walked into a university room back in 1999. I met an amazing human, Vaughan Bowie, for any of you old youth workers around Western Sydney that had the pleasure of meeting Vaughan Bowie. On my first day at university, he asked us in our class 3 questions, and they were, how do I put my shoes and socks on? Where do the mermaids stand? And what is the meaning of life?
Mm.
And those 3 questions, since 1999, I ask myself at least twice a week when I sit back and I'm in supervision or I'm reflecting on something I've done. I come back to those 3 questions and I ask myself, where are the mermaids? How did I put my shoes and socks on today? And did Jodie put her shoes and socks on the same way? And what is the meaning of life? And I guess for me, that is a really nice present when I think about genuine practice and thinking differently.
And it almost sounds like it's like a grounding activity for you as well.
I mean, probably never thought of it in that way, but it is. But I think it just challenges me to think differently about myself, my practice, and my clients, and to not always walk in thinking, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, and I'm going to have made such a difference, or I'm going to have affected change. It reminds me that everyone is different, and the way in which I come to my work and I work with people needs to be different every single time for every different person.
It says so much about you because that is your practice in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Wow, Rose.
Well, I hope it is.
Great story.
So if you get nothing else out of this introduction, or you're thinking, will I listen or not listen? I guess my challenge to you all is, genuinely, are you happy to be in a space of learning, listening to 2 old bats natter on about things that we know a lot about and some things that we don't know much about? And are you willing to think they're absolutely not on the mark here and I'm going to continue doing my practice, or that's something for me to go away and think about?
Yeah, because you won't agree with everything we say.
And we don't agree with everything.
No, that's right. And that's kind of great, because if you don't agree, it means you're thinking about it. And so it's fine if you don't agree. We will never be disrespectful or intentionally disrespectful. I think that I can't say that we won't upset people, because I feel like we will.
And we do.
Yeah.
We do upset people.
That's true, we do. But it's not intentional. It's because we feel practice. It goes back to that, and we see practice in a different way. And it's so client-led. But it's also, it's not always proper.
No, it's not always proper.
But it's never disrespectful. It's never disrespectful.
No, and the intent is always to assist or just to witness or be with.
Yeah, to do no harm,
Yeah.
to not make someone's life harder. And that's a really tricky space to be in when you practice, say, in something like child protection or out of home care, because you sometimes feel like you are doing harm.
Yes. And I think sometimes when there's a relationship rupture, or you have inadvertently or not intentionally caused harm, the hard work that follows that in trying to repair relationships also is it's a different space to be in, and I'm not always comfortable in that space.
Yeah.
But when I reflect and think about my practice and the change that I've seen in myself or my clients, often it's from that space of uncomfortableness. We've had a very necessary conversation at times, but in the result being harm or a lack of trust or a breakdown in the relationship. But that repair of that relationship has often led to some amazing outcomes after.
Yeah.
But it's a scary space to be in.
So scary. And we'll talk about that, and we'll give our examples. We'll talk about our own practice. So it's not just about us sitting here thinking blah, 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 blah. Well, we actually want to talk about our own practice. And that includes the stuff we didn't do well.
Yes.
Because that's how we all learn. And we want to hear about your practice. So we do have, it took us ages to kind of get to this point, but we also have an email, which we're very proud of, because usually that takes us ages to do as well. And I'll give you that at the end. But I guess what you can expect from this podcast is that the conversations will be as real as we can make them. They'll always be real, because we're not politically correct. We're just not. Yeah. I'm very bad at using jargon. I'm very bad at knowing when to use, ridiculous words like positionality. I'm sorry, but it's a ridiculous word. I'm really bad at that. But what I'm really good at is thinking about practice from that place of realness, and thinking about theory and integrating theory and practice, and helping and to facilitate other people's practice so that it can be the best that it can be, I guess. We also want to have fun. You might not think we're funny, but we've said it a few times. We think we're funny sometimes, so we'll probably have some laughs about stuff, hopefully.
Well, we'll definitely laugh at ourselves.
That's true. We always laugh at ourselves. And we really want this podcast to almost feel like an informal supervision activity, because that's important. That's kind of what we want to do as well. We want to, it feels quite altruistic, but we want to be able to enrich the field a little bit if we can. So if you can take anything away from us that is useful for you, that's kind of a win for us.
That's very true. That I often use this metaphor that, supervision, or the trainings that we provide, or the interactions we have with colleagues, is a smorgasbord. It's all laid out. Take what you would like, leave what you're not interested in.
Yeah.
Because not everything will appeal, but hopefully some things will appeal to you.
Yeah, true. All right, we've got some topics that we want to cover. We'll probably add stuff, but also when we give you the email, if you have ideas, email us some ideas. We'd love to hear them. But we're thinking that we actually want to talk about what social work is, because it's really hard to kind of articulate sometimes what is actually social work. And we're thinking, how do we tell people what it is that we do?
Yes.
I feel like we want to talk about kind of what does professional behaviour mean, but not in a teachy academic way. Do you know what I mean?
Not really.
What, we don't want to talk about it?
No, we do, but how are you going to do it?
I don't know. We'll come to that.
We'll come to it, okay.
It'll be a work in progress, but we'll work it out. We kind of want to talk a little bit. I reckon we want to do a whole topic about buzzwords, and is it a buzzword or is it disinformation, and what does it actually mean?
That's going to be a great podcast.
Oh my God, if you've got some buzzwords that you want to email us in, love to hear them. We'll talk a lot about theory, because both Rose and I are quite theoretical. We talk a lot about theory. We're constantly going back to, okay, well, how do we make sense of this? Because theory is about making sense of the practice. So we'll talk a lot about theory. Well, we also want to talk about what is relational practice, what is person-centered practice. How do you actually include people?
And how do you know you're actually practicing from that space?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah, how do you know? That's right. Do you just think you're doing it? But yeah, anyway, we'll get to that. And also, how do it be when you've made a mistake? What's that like when you feel like you've made a terrible mistake?
Really uncomfortable for me.
It's horrible, yeah.
It does feel horrible. And I've made 2 mistakes this week, so I still often make the mistakes.
Of course, yeah.
And I'm very happy to talk throughout the podcast, and hopefully there'll be different things weaved in every week, but definitely mistakes and what happens after is something we will absolutely be discussing.
Yeah. We thought we would probably go into some themes perhaps in our first. This is all thinking now. It could change, but our we're kind of thinking a thematic kind of approach would be useful. So our first thing will focus on child protection out of home care practice, because that's kind of what we know.
Yes.
So we just brainstormed some ideas about that. And the first one is really thinking about public versus private parenting and what it actually means, and the conversations you can have
or can't have
as a public parent. Yeah. So we'll define what that means, because that might be a term that some people haven't heard before. We talk about it a lot.
We do, actually.
Yeah. Grief and loss and ambiguous loss. What is ambiguous loss? We're kind of into ambiguous loss at the moment with the amazing Dr. Kenny Kaur from University of Wollongong. We'll talk about what that is and what that means and
what actual practically you can bring to your practice from an ambiguous loss lens and the resources you can use in practice.
Yeah.
From this space.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting space to work from in out-of-home care and child protection.
Absolutely. We want to talk about kind of just promoting children and young people's participation in decision making.
Oh, we're going to have a great conversation about participation and decision making of children and young people in out-of-home care.
Absolutely.
Love it.
I want to talk a little bit, well, not I mean we. When I say I, it's usually we. It just means that, I'm just being a little self-involved for that second. But we want to talk about permanency for children involved in child protection out of home care. What actually does that mean? What does that look like? What does the legislation say? What does the practice also look like? Do you know? Because that's a huge thing.
I think even you say permanency and my mind goes into 3 splits.
Yeah.
What permanency are you talking about?
Absolutely.
Legal, relational, or physical permanency?
Yeah.
And can you ever have all 3? And if you do, what does it look like? And how do you know you've got it?
And what does the practice usually focus? It's a big conversation. I put this on. I think we're in agreement, but honestly, this is the thing that annoys me a lot. And that's I want to talk about birth family contact. I'm not calling it family time.
Well, I think for those of you listening outside of New South Wales, I'm not sure what it's like in your state jurisdiction territory or Providence, wherever you may be, but in New South Wales, the statutory child protection body in the last couple of years has been trying to change the name from contact to birth family contact. And we will absolutely dive into even the language around that.
And family time.
To family time, sorry. What is that about? But also, what does the international research tell us about contact for children in our home care? Because it's not as clear cut, I think, as many think it is. It's almost a propaganda that has taken place in the last couple of years, I feel, in New South Wales around contact.
Yeah, I agree. And it's really upsetting to see the way birth family contact arrangements are managed, where there isn't a lot of I'm just going to put this out there, and of course I'm speaking general, so I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't feel like there's an understanding of just how important birth family contact is for the child in terms of making that child feel safe. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, that'll be a high horse moment for both of us. We also thought we would talk about parenting capacity and strength-based practice versus parent-based practice. I think that'll be a good chat.
That'll be a great chat.
Well, that's kind of what we got so far.
So as we said at the beginning, we are messy. So don't hold us to that format. We will get to all of those topics. It just might not be as linear as what maybe has been laid out there. We are really keen for any topics to be sent in to us, or ideas that you may have, things that you'd like us to discuss on the podcast. We are definitely open to hearing from you all. So how would anyone contact us, Jodie?
So we do have a Facebook page that we have set up, but the best contact would be email, and the email is relationalpractice01, all lowercase, @gmail.com.
And if you email us, one of us will email you back.
Absolutely. Eventually. No, absolutely we will. All right. I think it's going to be fun.
Oh, well, I can't wait. I think we're going to talk about lots of different things and hopefully bring a lens to these topics that you may not hear in your supervision sessions or in team meetings with your colleagues.
Or you may hear it, and this might just be an extra.
True.
Just like an extra, I don't know, support. Your face says it all. All right. Look, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you continue to listen.
Yeah, please tune in again. Give us a like, and we will speak to you soon.
But maybe